started because that's MCM's cue to start recording. Welcome, everybody. I presume that 541-921 is Representative Gomberg, so we'll just go with that. I can't figure out a way to rename them. But welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Yamhill Leadership Roundtable, which might just be the weekly edition if everybody decides that we should do just Tuesday. We have Commissioner Olson with us from Yamhill County. We got Casey Kula, Yamhill County Commissioner. We have Senator Arnie Roblan. We have Gioia Goodrum from the McMinnville Chamber of Commerce. We have Kelly Minke, Council President in the City of McMinnville. We've got Takesha Wydro from the West Valley Chamber of Commerce and Delphian School, I should clarify too. We have Scott Cooper from McMinnville Economic Development Partnership. And we've got Tyler Jansen from Representative Gomberg's office, and we have Representative Gomberg himself via phone. And in a moment, we'll have County Clerk Brian Van Bergen joining us as well, which I love having our clerk talk because it gives me so much more confidence in the systems that we have in place around elections. So I'll make sure that we get him to speak with us. But I'd love to start right now with Senator Roblan. Senator, can you start by talking to the community as much as you know about the hearings around the Oregon Department of Employment, Oregon Employment Department, and then anything else you'd like to tell people?
Yeah, I have not watched those real closely, but I know that what they are trying to do is figure out what do they need, how do we move forward, how do we fix this in the future. We know we have money out there that was given to us from the federal government to get a new system. It's not best to change the system in the middle of a pandemic, but we need to make sure that there's a plan moving forward so that we can get this taken care of for the future. And then there's also figuring out where the administrative money is going to come to make sure that we can get up that $300 extra payment with the unemployment. So I think the hearings are really just to try to get a better understanding of what's going on, what's left to do, how many people have we not ever gotten any of their money. And so I think it's basically fact-finding. Let's try to figure out where we're going to go next. And then as we get ready for the September legislative days coming up on the 21st through the 25th, the Senate will actually be in person on the 25th for a meeting because we have to do a vote on the floor for the appointments to commissions and stuff that the governor has put forward. And she's put a new list out. It's out there so people can look at it for a whole bunch of different positions. As you know, our state is really run in large part by private citizens who get on these boards and commissions who end up having a fair amount to say about how we move forward in Oregon. So I think those are important aspects of what's going on. We're in the process of having meetings with our respective leaders. So tomorrow morning, I have a meeting with the Senate President to talk about my committee on mental health and what we're going to go doing. We also have a meeting. There's about 7 different work groups, all working on mental health. About 6 of them have to do with criminal justice issues and mentally ill people and how you deal with that. The other one is the statewide looking at mental health that the governor's task force has been working on. So we're putting together our plan for that. It's going to be a 2-hour meeting on Wednesday of that week. So the other issues is I have, we'll wait and see what happens with Ways and Means if we meet at all during those legislative days. Sometimes we do. I haven't seen a schedule that shows that yet. Mostly it's just the policy bills. And at the end of that week, 25th, is the day that all of us have to get our concepts into a legal counsel to run them if we want to have them back by December 7th, which is when the new session starts. And I have been talking with the Secretary of State, who has just finished up a audit on mental health issues in our state. So we hope to have that here at part of our hearing, but she may also have some concepts, and it's past the deadline for them. So she was talking about our committee introducing some concepts for her, and we'll have to look at that and decide if that's something we're going to do. So that's pretty much what's going on right now. And David may have some more information with respect to the UI hearings. So.
And then before that, I want to make sure that Councillor Minke has a question, it looks like.
Sure to get some form of report for you on the mental health aspects next week.
I can't quite hear.
Would it be premature to get some of the information on what you're talking about with mental health next week?
We don't have a whole lot of that information yet. I will tell you that the governor's task force on mental health is supposed to have recommendations out by the beginning of next week. So we may have some of those recommendations coming in. I've been involved in that, so I know some of it, but it's been a big conversation. When it comes to the judicial ones, there's a couple judges have brought together us talking about how do we not use up state hospital for aid and assist, which is those people who are standing trial, but we have to make sure that they're competent to stand trial. Therefore, you don't have as much space for the people who are on private insurance and other kinds of stuff who need a break, and they need to get some intensive care before they can come back and get into society. The big issues are how do we use more community-based services as opposed to state hospital services, because they tend to last better because they develop in the communities the people are going to live in, the structures and support structures. So when they get out of the intense care, they know where they're going to do. The other big issue that has been foremost in the discussions has been how do we help families who are working with a mentally ill person get the services they need for that person without them having to go all the way to the bottom before they can get any help or commit a crime. Because until the person wants to get help, it is very difficult for family to intercede in those. And so are there some other things that have been done in other states that give where the patient, when they understand their condition, could sign over the ability for a particular person in the family to make decisions when everybody agrees that the person is going on the wrong track, so they can get care quicker, hopefully, so they won't spend as much time in crisis. So those are some of the main conversations that are happening.
Thank you.
And along those lines, Senator Roblan, did the legislature, forgive me for not knowing this, did the legislature ever approve the cost share with the federal dollars for the qualified?
CCHBCs, yes.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
The answer is we got close, but then some people left the building, so we didn't get to vote on it. So we did not get the money for them. It is one of the recommendations from the statewide group that has come along very strongly that we have to do that. The anecdotal information about those CCHBCs is that they are doing amazing things. We had a lot of testimony on the fact that it is the most advanced positive thing they've seen in mental health in the last 50 years. So I tend to agree, having visited one over in Baker City, but I've also talked to people in Lane County and all over where these are at, that they have had some really good anecdotal research. We haven't finished up the program to really get the data we need to make sure it's working, but everybody says it's working. And the other question about that one is, can we develop it in such a way that eventually the CCOs realize that it's part of what they need to offer? Because the reality is, this is one of the reasons the CCOs were developed. I mean, this program is exactly treating mental illness exactly the same as you do physical illness, and recognizing you can't separate the human being. They are the same person. And so treat all of the issues at the same time.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. Senator, can you do the 30-second explanation of what they are? But I'd also like to add that our CCO is now has removed behavioral health as behavioral health contractors as the risk-carrying entity in order to try to bring physical and behavioral health closer together.
So this is a federal program, the CCHBCs, that the federal government is actually giving like a 4-to-1 match. So they give a whole lot more money if we would give a match to it. The counties actually, in a number of the rural counties, when we didn't have the match, they put the match up themselves because they had seen how good it was working in their areas. In Baker County, they were talking about they haven't sent a person to the state hospital for a number of years since this has been going. So what it basically is that you have a mental health provider, physical health providers, nurses and whatever, all in one location. And so when a person comes in for a mental health appointment, they can also take care of their physical health appointment, get the prescriptions they need for physical as well as mental health kinds of issues. And it's basically a one-stop shop. They also are involved in making sure that we have mental health foster homes, we have mental health 6 and 10 bed respite places where people can get some real intense help. All of those things rolled into a program that takes each individual and works with them. In the one in Baker City, they actually bought a ranch so that they have a place for people to go and work, because they have found repeatedly that if you get people on the right track and then give them something real to do, work, where they feel value in themselves and others, that they tend to do better. And it keeps them less reliant on drugs and more reliant on the kinds of services and activities that work. The psychiatrist that works with this group actually lives and works in Salem, and they have developed a really great telemedicine deal where the patients can come in and have a conversation with their psychiatrist who's sitting in Salem, Oregon, through this really advanced web-based program that's in their place in Baker. So they're looking at how do we provide these services at a much less cost than the state hospital, and with better results. So that's really what it's all about.
All right, thank you. Any further questions for Senator Roblan? And then maybe we'll have some after Representative Gomberg joins us. Representative Gomberg, I'm going to unmute you, I think, or maybe you're going to unmute yourself, but what would you like to tell people today? Got it.
All right, I think I'm unmuted now, both on my phone and on your system. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Very good. Well, good afternoon, commissioners. Good afternoon, Yamhill County. I thank Senator Roblan for that comprehensive overview. The first thing I'll share with you is, as you may have read, there will be an election in about 64 days. Of consequence this week is that under legislative rules, we are not allowed to send out mass communications from our legislative offices after the 60-day point. That's a good rule, but it also means that you won't be receiving newsletters from the Senator Roblan or myself after this Friday, or from any other legislators. There is, however, a possibility that the chief clerk will grant an exemption so that we can send out communications that are focused on COVID while the emergency rule is in place. So that's one change that is underway. The senator mentioned that we're coming up on a deadline for submitting proposals for legislation during the 2021 session. So we are now busily crafting or recrafting proposals, sending them to legislative council to be prepared into legislative bill drafts for us. That work is underway. If there are measures that you want to see introduced, now's the time to get them to us. However, I will tell you that there are also rumors at this point about how the upcoming legislative session may be operated. And one of the things that I'm hearing is they may in fact limit senators and representatives to a finite number of bills, rather than saying that you can introduce as many proposals as you want. News this week that's come out of the executive branch. First of all, that we have a new state superintendent of the state police. Secondly, that the governor has chosen to extend the moratorium on evictions or foreclosures. And finally, that as we've spoken about in the past, that unemployment compensation will be increased by $300 per week, with a federal addition to the standard amount of unemployment compensation. So those are the main things that I wanted to share with you for today, and would be happy to pause and see if you've got any questions about that or anything else.
It looks like Councilor Menke has a question for you.
Oh, can you talk to me about the evictions, what you folks have done?
I think your question was what's going on with evictions and mortgage foreclosures. And the legislature had said that during this emergency period that people could not be evicted or have their properties foreclosed on, which includes both residential and commercial evictions foreclosures. There was an option there where that rule would expire, but the governor had the opportunity to extend it if she chose to, and she has exercised that option. So again, that means that people cannot be evicted or cannot have their mortgages foreclosed on for non-payment. I also want to make it very clear that there are options for people that need help paying their rent or help paying their mortgage. Those are available now. The best way to access those options is to dial 211 and get connected with people who can give you more specific details.
So do you know the dates on those, the moratorium extension, David?
You know, Senator, I'm, as you can tell, I'm in my car. I don't have that information in front of me right now, but I could certainly get an answer. Perhaps Tyler can look that up and share it with all of us since he's on the call as well.
He just added that note in the chat, which is that it's through the end of December. Thank you, Tyler. And then I'd like to note that in Yamhill County, the Yamhill Community Action Partnership is the recipient of funding to get out to people for rental and mortgage assistance. And they have really ramped up their ability to help people in terms of staffing. So I think it's any.yamhill.org is the website to go to. But again, 211 is a really good resource as well. All right, Representative Gomberg, anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you all very much. We're looking forward to a holiday weekend that is safe and secure for everybody. I think we'll have beautiful weather at the coast, high temperatures in the valley, a 3-day weekend. There's going to be a lot of people traveling, so I'd urge you to be respectful and courteous and to avoid creative parking, which has been a real problem here at the coast the last few weekends. So we'll get through that holiday weekend and see where we stand. So I'm going to have to exit the call at this point, but I appreciate the opportunity to share that information with all of you.
Thank you for joining us, Representative Gomberg.
Senator
Roblan has something.
Yeah, I want to add, you know, all of our schools are really working hard at trying to figure out how to open for in classroom time. They have certain criteria that have to be met, and those criteria are pretty hard and fast. So the state has to get down to a rate under 5%, and we're right there. It's, I think, 5 point. Yeah, we're there. So then they also have to have rates of under 10 people per 100,000 if they want to have K through 12 open, and K through 12 open, and 30 per 100,000 if they want to have 1 to 3. We have only 14 of the 36 counties can meet the K to 3 criteria right now, and only 2 counties can actually meet the requirement for all the way to K-12. That means it takes all of us, and that's about wearing masks, washing hands, doing social distancing, and doing all the things you need to do as Representative Gomberg. We have this weekend coming up. They shared with us some examples last week where a little family got together, and a couple people were sick, but not that sick. And by the time they went back to their respective places and work in establishments, 300 people came down with it from that one event. That can wipe out a county's chance to open up schools. So I guess what I'm telling people is, if you really are interested in making sure that kids get back in classrooms this year, it's really dependent on Oregonians. It's each and every one of us doing the right things, not just for ourselves, but for all those kids and all those others. And I hope that people take that seriously, especially when we have this big weekend coming with amazing weather. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those words, Senator. And Yamhill County is now at 42 new cases per 100,000. So we've dropped another 30% from last week. And our test positivity rate is now at 2.4, I believe is what I looked at. Whereas Oregon as a whole is now at 4.4. So Oregon is below the number also. So we can definitely do this, and the county is on the right track. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Senator. Commissioner Olson, what would you like to tell people today?
Casey, and welcome everybody. I just have a few comments today. First is regarding the Yamhill County's mental health holds. I've been in office about 4 years now, and we in the last, since about May or late April, we've seen more mental health holds by our HHS staff than we've seen in the last 3 years combined. And all these mental health holds are not necessarily the homeless. They're just people that are tired of being cooped up inside, that are a danger to themselves or danger to other individuals. So it's concerning to me that our mental health holds continue to increase. And I think, as Senator Roblan said, we have to have those programs in place that meet those people's needs, because I don't like to see mental health holds. The second thing is I'm a little concerned about the letter that went out regarding the commutation of sentences for the state prison system to all the legislatures. It says, number one, of course, is going to be if they're less than 90 days, they're 120 days, whatever it is now, they can be transferred back to the county's authority to monitor. And the state, with the state looking at all the different sentences that can be commuted, I'm very concerned that it's going to put additional demand back on the counties that the county has no way of paying for. So I'm concerned about that. And then the only last thing, or a couple of those things, is I don't know how many, I'm sure the senator and the, well, I guess the representative isn't on anymore, saw Representative David Brock Smith's letter to the legislature and the governor regarding what's going on in Portland and his feelings and what he thinks. Very well done letter. I think he put it very well. I'd like to see if there's anything that comes out of that letter. And as far as McMinnville, the only thing I'll say is I talked to the one of the people from the MDA yesterday and emailed, and as you know, McMinnville has extended their downtown dining from Labor Day weekend until September 27th. But in order to get more merchants to participate, while the streets are closed for dining and everything, the MDA will be running some retail promotions of different types, sidewalk sales, treasure hunts, things like that, to get more of the other businesses open. So it really becomes a win-win situation, because we have businesses that just won't open because they don't want to take part. So, but I guess that's, unless anybody has questions, that's all I have, Casey.
All right, do we have any questions for Commissioner Olson? I almost called you Representative Olson, I apologize.
At chance.
You know, you're still in the same district as Representative Noble, I believe.
And I would never think about running against Ron. He was our police chief. I can't run against the next police chief, you know.
Especially when you were his mayor.
That's true.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Olson. Are there questions or comments for Commissioner Olson? Commissioner Olson, can you send to us the letter that Representative David Brock Smith was circulating? And also,
certainly can. I thought you got a copy, Casey. If you didn't get a copy, I'll send it to you and you can disseminate it to everybody.
Sometimes people leave me off of things because there's this D beside my name somewhere. I don't actually know where, but
I'm not going to tell you what D stands for, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I'll get everybody a copy, or let you get everybody a copy.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, okay. And I'd love to go on now to our county clerk, Brian Van Bergen. Welcome back. And what would you like to tell people today?
Thank you very much. And sorry, I bounced out a couple of times. We've been awfully busy today. We're days away from the voter pamphlet filing for city councilors, mayors, and that sort of thing. So very, very busy down here at the minute. One thing I would really like to bounce out to everyone that knows someone living, serving, or working overseas. We're trying very hard to reach each of those folks that are citizens of the United States and just overseas for the next 3-4 months. It is very likely that those folks will not receive mail We want them to reach out to us directly, one way or another, if it's a phone call or an email or however they can communicate with us. We want each of those folks to be able to vote. And we must, by law, send each one of them a mailed ballot, but they are not required to vote that mailed ballot and get it back to us. Those that are overseas are one of the few people that can vote electronically in Oregon. And we need to connect with those people to make that happen. So if any of you know anyone that's living, serving, or working overseas, they need to reach out to their county elections office. Make that connection happen as soon as we can, so that we can work out any kinks. It'd be great if they received their mailed ballot and get that back to us, but we want to make sure that one way or another they get their ballot counted and back here before 8 p.m. on election night. And that is one of the things that we'll be pushing statewide, is for each voter in Oregon to make a plan to get their ballot back to their elections office. One way or another, if they bring it back physically, if they use a drop box, if they mail it back, one way or another, we want each voter to take upon themselves the chore of figuring out the best way to get their ballot back to their elections office. You know, we've got 15 different drop boxes across just Yamhill County, so we've got it very well covered in our county. All of our boxes are 24-hour access. That's not true in every other county across the state. So some traditional drop boxes had been in city halls and had been inside libraries across Oregon, and those might continue to be difficult for voters to gain access to. So we just want to get everyone thinking early about how to get their ballot back to us. One of the other things we want as many people to do as possible is jump onto the Secretary of State's My Vote application and check their voter registration status to make sure that we have their accurate name, updated name, in case someone's recently changed their name, got married or whatever. We want to make sure that we have their accurate address and any other pertinent information. Much, much easier to get a ballot in someone's hands if they tell us now that there's a problem. We really, really want to avoid stacks of humans in our lobby on election day. So if everyone can do their bit and check their own registration status right now, super simple, super quick, and it's free. But those citizens in Yamhill County that want an extra bit, they should also sign up for our ballot tracks program. Free for our voters, and it's the voter's choice whether or not they want an email, a text message, or a phone call when we mail out their ballot to them, and then when we've accepted their ballot back in our office, or if there's a signature problem. It's a push notification, so it's not incumbent upon the voter to phone us. We actually tell them as soon as we've accepted their signature. So I want voters to do both things as soon as they can. Go to My Vote, check your registration, sign up for ballot tracks. Questions?
That's great. Thank you very much, Clerk. Questions? All right, comments, praises, yay, thank you. All right, I really appreciate you joining us to give us those, the 1, 2, 3s. So thank you very much. I will move on now to the city leaderships, and Kelly Mankey, Council President, what would you like to tell people today on behalf of City of McMinnville? Or what would you like to say? No pressure.
I just found this very interesting meeting. Thanks to Senator Roblan and Representative Gomberg. Yeah, I'm all excited about the election. Thank you, Brian, for being here every week. It's been great to be kept abreast of everything. I'm relieved about some of the dates. So. At any rate, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry I was not prepping myself for actually speaking about the city council today.
All right, no problem. You got some good questions in, so we'll give you that. As though we have something to give. Okay, I will move on to our business leaders. And Gioia Goodrum, what would you like to tell people today?
Okay. Hey, hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good to see everyone today. Really brief, we're still working on our business support series. And so Clerk Van Bergen is going to come and speak to us on, I think we said the 23rd, right, Brian? About elections. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing that in a longer than the 3 bullet points. And then we're going to be doing one on cybersecurity. Yes. Well, 3 bullet points is fine, but more in between them, maybe, for time's sake. And cybersecurity is coming up the end of September. We're working on some other workshops that we think, would be good for our businesses. And the other thing I wanted to mention was Leadership MAC, which is our community leadership program. They have opted to wait until April to launch the program. So if folks are interested in that program, they can get in touch with Rhonda at the chamber office and she can explain why we pushed it out. Well, obviously there's a pandemic, so we wanted to hold off on that. And the last thing, we are going to be doing some candidate forums coming up for those folks that are up for election. And we're working on that, and we'll get in touch with all of the prospects, all the candidates, and let them know what those dates are going to be. So thank you. That's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for Gioia? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for continuing to do some of the chamber events. I really appreciate it. And I did like to note, I feel like there was a letter to the editor of the News Register about lemonade days, about, hey, why can this person not have an elote stand selling, sweet corn, and whereas these folks can have their lemonade stands. And I looked up the exemptions, what is exempt from food licensing, and it turns out that, essentially lemonade is one of those things.
We did, just so you know, we did work with the health department and very, very closely. I had countless phone calls with the director and of course with the inspectors, and Rhonda talked with them as well. Each child was given information from the health department about what they needed, wearing gloves and masks and all of that, how to keep things clean. And so they were all given that information in 3 different ways. They were giving it to them by paper, it was given to them in an email, and it was also posted on the Facebook page for Lemonade Day. So we did spend a lot of time educating kids on what they needed to do. And there were some kids who actually went and got their food handlers licenses. So yes, the question about the young man who was selling the elote, this was a one-day event, and yeah, it's a different situation. But thank you for mentioning that. So, because we did want to make sure that we worked really closely so the kids were all in compliance.
Thank you. That's a great addition.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for asking.
Oh yeah. Takesha, what would you like to share with people here on the call and in the community today?
Just generally a reminder, we've got our Sheridan revitalization meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. and we changed the location to the Sheridan City Park, so we can all just bring your own chair. We can all be social distance, and you're welcome. People are welcome to bring masks as well. And we're going to be discussing kind of our ongoing projects. We normally do 2 cleanups a year, and we haven't been able to do that. And there are areas in Sheridan we would really like to put some attention to, so we're going to discuss how we can safely do that. We use Solve as our resource to do the cleanups, and they have some pretty good guidelines that we can follow. So that's mainly it.
Great, thank you very much. And thanks for continuing to do those cleanups, even if it's challenging to get everybody together these days. Yeah, I know that it means a lot to folks who I talk to who live in Sheridan. Scott Cooper, what would you like to tell people today? And welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thank you. A few things here. MEDP had a 2-year grant from the Oregon Community Foundation and the Ford Family Foundation that just came to a close, and that grant was to bring the McMinnville Works style program to rural communities across the state, and to create an additional program for this area. We worked with Roseburg, Ontario, Boardman, and Coos Bay to establish programs for them. So they are all in various stages of planning to create their own works program. And the program that we created, the additional one here, was the Career Bound Pathways program, which is for recent high school graduates, all part of a workforce development for certainly our area, our region, and for the state. So we're very pleased to have that grant and excited that we did complete and accomplish our goals of that grant. So we're looking at new things and new ways to grow the workforce programming here locally and hopefully as well throughout the state. Wanted to make sure to remind everybody about the Emergency Business Assistance Grant from McMinnville. That's macbusinessassistance.com. Applications are being accepted. You can get all the information there, contacts, and hopefully answers to your questions. But please apply for small businesses, 25 or under employees. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Gioia on here, myself, or anybody on there. They can direct you to the right people to get a hold of as well. Lots of activity continues in the industrial park. We're happy to see businesses, or not businesses, but buildings being sold, new roads being added to access property, and some small expansions taking place. So positive things to see, certainly in this time, and it's good to see the additions that those projects are bringing to the community. And kind of along those lines, on October 2nd is Manufacturing Day. We will have proclamations being sent and worked on to both the county and the city. It's a good time to celebrate what we're working on. It's also the end of our year and the beginning of a new year. We will have a wrap up on kind of the business activities throughout this past year and all that's been going on and what we have to look forward to. So thank you very much.
Nice. Does anybody have questions for Scott? All right. My question, Scott, would be how are manufacturers doing? Abisha had mentioned that there were a lot of folks that have come to her looking for employees. Have you heard that from the manufacturers in McMinnville area?
Yeah, there's certainly a common theme, and those are similar stories that we're hearing as well. I guess it's a good bad thing. It's good that they're hiring, looking for people because there's a need. But there is the difficulty that we walked into 6 months ago hasn't changed. We had problems finding certain workforce areas, and that's certainly deepened a little bit in the last 6 months. And we're still interested to see how the events of the last few weeks, how that shapes out moving forward. If our numbers continue to rebound slowly or if they bounce back a little quicker, it'll be interesting to see as the new reports come out from the state on unemployment. So the other one we hear about is certainly the child care concerns with the school system and the school year being extremely different and the impact that the last 6 months have had on our care providers, child care providers. So that's the other topic that gets brought up often as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you for that, the clarification and addition. It looks like Commissioner Olson has something he would like to say.
Yeah, Scott, I have one question for you. You know, the way the industrial park going into expansion and new buildings and new streets, are there any of the businesses or manufacturers out there that are actually looking at putting in on-site child care for their employees?
That's a question that we're kind of starting to form because I know some of the larger manufacturers in the region are kind of looking at that possibility because they can based on their size. So yeah, we're starting to have those conversations with some of the larger and some partnerships between some of the similar locations in the areas and the ability to do so. So that is a conversation that is beginning, Commissioner.
Okay, thanks, Scott. You know, it seems to me that between MEDP and some of the larger manufacturers out there in MIP, that there should be some way to take one of the vacant buildings or part of one of the vacant buildings, turned into a business-supported childcare where any of the manufacturers out in the industrial park that are in that park could actually use that as a childcare.
Yeah, business-supported is a key key phrase there. You bet.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. And thank you very much, Commissioner Olson, for adding that as questions. All right, anything else? Any other thoughts for Scott or questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much. One thing that I'd like to note is that, we've, Commissioner Olson touched on this a little bit, but we saw this terrible violence in the city of Portland over the weekend. And I want to really reaffirm here that First Amendment rights of speech and protest to protest is so, so very important. It's foundational to our communities and how we govern. And political violence cannot ever be condoned or accepted. And I think that in our community, I want to make sure that as we go forward, especially as we approach an election that is building up in tension in a community where we have a global pandemic affecting all of us, that we just keep in mind that freedom of expression is so very important, and violence and threats of violence are so very wrong. So thank you, Commissioner Olson, for bringing that up. And I look forward to seeing the letter from the representative. And
Casey, I did send to the chat room, I sent the world link to his letter, basically explains it all. But it's the World Link site, and I did put the link in the chat room, and everybody should have got that, but I will go ahead and send the actual letter itself too.
Okay, thank you very much. I feel like there was another letter that you mentioned earlier in your comments too, and I had not seen that. So if you could also send that to all of us, that'd be great. I don't even remember what it was now. All right, but I want to say that from what I see as I follow the statistics and the data that that come through our desks and our emails, Yamhill County is on the right track, as is Oregon. We've seen consistent case count declines, and we are now seeing a decline in the number of deaths per day across Oregon as well, which is very encouraging. It's really hard to see those numbers go up. In fact, yesterday we had the lowest number of new cases statewide that we've had since, I think, May, something like that. So it's very, very encouraging. I think we're getting there, and we're on the right track. But as Senator Roblan pointed out, this is a virus that still is with us, and that we need to take some action on and some responsibility, each one of us. And I'm tired of it, and I know that everybody out there is tired of it. When I post an update on Facebook, I get, I'm so sick of this as comments. And I think I'm presuming that everybody is sick of it. That's why we've discussed going to 1 day a week rather than 5, or 5, as Senator Roblan said. This is 5, apparently. We can have 5 meetings a week. But we are really working on this, all of us, and I'm so grateful for everybody who's on this call for the part that you do in it, and thank you for that. But I also want to remind people in the community that if you do need help with something, each and every person here is working for you in some capacity, and they can help direct you to the resources you need. And along those lines, for those of you who are still waiting for unemployment benefits of some kind, reach out to me, reach out to Commissioner Olson. I hesitate to say reach out to other people because I don't want to give them more homework, but we can help you navigate the system. We've got some really amazing people that work with the county who can look up your claim and figure out what exactly is stalling it. In fact, just this morning, we had our regional employment economist pull up somebody's claim and say, oh, there's a flag on your case that just needs to be taken off and you're gonna get your checks. And literally all he did was click that thing, and the person's claims are now being processed. So amazing. And I hope that the legislature is proactive and is able to really modernize it going forward. But in the meantime, if you need help out there, just let us know. And Gioia has a question.
Do we know how many people are still waiting to receive any kind of benefits?
I don't know. Senator Roblan might know, but he's shaking his head.
Yeah, I don't know that we have an actual number, but it's still more than it should be.
Yeah, and a lot of the cases, people's claims that were placed in adjudication, which I think means that there's somebody who looks more closely at all the information. A lot of those are getting processed. So one of our neighbors just recently got his processed, and his claim started the 1st of April or the end of March. And so that's separate from the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance for independent contractors. So I think a lot of those folks are still stuck. But it's moving along. I get emails a couple a week from people who've had success. Yeah, and for those of you out in the community, for those out in the community, there's a great Facebook page. I think it's called COVID-19 1099 Sole Prop Support or something like that. And it's an amazing resource. You know, there's thousands of people on it who are all kind of crowdsourcing information for other people. So I strongly encourage folks to go to that too. All right, any last comments?
Brian said he wanted to mention something, but he's talking. He said, I should chat about ballot drop boxes. But he's talking to somebody else.
I'm sure we can make up something until he's there. He doesn't even have his headphones on. I do know that the clerk is always looking for new spots for ballot drop boxes. So if you have a place that's accessible all the time, ideally in a parking lot, and where you can put a box, he would love to talk to you, especially in McMinnville, is my understanding. Clerk Van Bergen, what would you want to say about ballot drop boxes?
Sorry about that. And thanks for covering for me. I know with all the panic that I don't want to cause more panic. So we are having 6 different ballot drop box changes just in Yamhill County. So the box we have at the PCC campus in Newburgh is getting an upgrade. The box that we have at the Jakewith Park on the northwest corner of Newburgh is getting an upgrade. The city of Carlton has a box. They're getting a new, larger box. City of Amity is getting a new, larger box. And the one that got run into the other day at the courthouse parking lot is going to be a much larger box, and those are all happening in the next few days. So if you get panicked Facebook posts saying more shenanigans, they're not shenanigans, they're improvements. And then to help folks that want to vote at the clerk's office, we are putting a new box outside our front door. So folks can physically come to our building, our block, and just drop their box right at the front steps without having to come into the lobby and have to sanitize, because we're asking everyone to sanitize and all that stuff. So we're hoping it's a nice compromise for the folks that want to do it in person without having to do all the stuff. So those are the changes that are coming in Yamhill County for ballot drop boxes.
Great, thank you, Clerk. And I'm still waiting to hear from a couple of different people at the state about whether counties can put up the match for the election security and COVID funds. So I guess I stay tuned, but I grow impatient. But thank you for letting us know about the ballot drop boxes. The ballot drop box issue is so tangible and out there that I'm getting questions about Washington County ballot drop boxes. And fortunately, the chair there is very patient. And apparently they communicate a lot. But sometimes you can't reach everybody. Yes. Okay, any last comments or thoughts? All right, well, I will see you on Friday, and we'll see everybody else out there in the community on Friday too. Thank you very much, and stay safe.